The $1 trillion blind spot, how Black women entrepreneurs are rewriting America's economic rules. Thank you all for being here today. I'm honored to share with you some extraordinary insights from my recent deep dive with Tatiana Denson, a visionary leader whose groundbreaking research has fundamentally changed how we understand economic opportunity in America. Tatiana isn't just documenting trends, she's illuminating an economic revolution being led by Black women entrepreneurs that most of our financial institutions, venture capitalists, and economic theorists have completely missed. Her work doesn't just challenge our assumptions, it shatters them, revealing pathways to prosperity that could transform our entire economy. We think we understand how success works in America, don't we? Work hard, take risks, seize opportunities, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the American dream in all its mythological glory. But what if I told you this story we've been telling ourselves isn't just incomplete? It's fundamentally dishonest. What if I told you that one of the most powerful engines of economic innovation and growth in our country is systematically being prevented from reaching its full potential? And what if addressing this gap could generate not just equality, but extraordinary prosperity for everyone? This is the revelation that emerged from my conversation with Tatiana Denson. And it doesn't just challenge how we think about opportunity in America, it demands we rewrite the rules. Here's something that might shock you. Black women are currently driving some of the most dynamic growth in entrepreneurship in the United States, outpacing virtually every other demographic group in starting new businesses and increasing revenues by over 32%. Let that sink in for a moment. The very group that faces the most significant historical, social, and economic barriers is simultaneously demonstrating the most remarkable entrepreneurial momentum. This isn't just an injustice, it's an economic absurdity of staggering proportions. When we typically think about entrepreneurial success, we frame it as an individual achievement. The lone visionary who, through sheer determination and grit, overcomes all obstacles. We love this story. We celebrate it in our media, in our business schools, in our cultural mythology. But what Tatiana's research reveals is that this narrative isn't just incomplete, it's dangerously misleading about how success actually works. And it's costing us hundreds of billions of dollars in unrealized economic potential. The data tells a different story. It tells us that individual effort, while necessary, is insufficient when systemic barriers remain firmly in place. It tells us that the most resilient entrepreneurs aren't succeeding because the playing field is level. They're succeeding despite the fact that it isn't. Think about what this means. If Black women entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success while fighting against headwinds that others don't face, imagine what they could accomplish if those artificial barriers were removed. Imagine what our entire economy could achieve. Let me share three critical insights from Tatiana's work that transform how we should think about entrepreneurship and economic opportunity. First, Black women entrepreneurs aren't just surviving, they're thriving and reshaping entire industries with business revenue growth rates far exceeding national averages. This isn't happening because the system is working perfectly. It's happening because these entrepreneurs have developed extraordinary capabilities to navigate and overcome systemic challenges. Second, persistent barriers such as unequal access to funding and discouragement from financial institutions remain major obstacles. Overcoming these isn't just a matter of individual effort. Collective action, ecosystem building, and policy shifts are essential for real progress. And third, perhaps most importantly, when Black owned businesses thrive at scale, it uplifts entire communities. Closing racial gaps in entrepreneurship could generate hundreds of thousands more businesses, millions of jobs, and billions in local economic impact across America. This isn't just about fairness, it's about unleashing untapped economic potential that benefits everyone. It's about recognizing that our current system isn't just morally flawed, it's economically inefficient. Let me illustrate this with a powerful example from Tatiana's research. In 2025, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council Conference in New Orleans brought together thousands of women entrepreneurs, including many Black founders, to strategize around collective advancement rather than isolated success stories. The challenges they faced were stark and measurable. Women at the conference reported receiving only 45% of requested loan amounts compared to 55% for men. They faced higher denial rates for business financing across the board. These aren't just statistics, they represent dreams deferred, innovations unrealized, jobs not created, communities not transformed. But rather than focusing solely on individual strategies, the conference centered on ecosystem building, connecting attendees with mentors, investors who understand the unique challenges faced by minority founders, collaborative partnerships for market entry, and advocacy for more equitable lending standards. The results were remarkable. Black women owned firms reported average revenue increases of over 32% following the conference. The event fostered new joint ventures among attendees that led directly to increased supplier diversity contracts. There was record attendance by minority founders, a measurable uptick in post conference deal flow, and increased representation on supplier rosters at Fortune 500 companies. What's particularly significant about this example is that it wasn't about teaching individual entrepreneurs to work harder. These were already extraordinarily hardworking, talented business leaders. What made the difference was creating an ecosystem that recognized their value and removed artificial barriers to their success. This points to something profound about how opportunity really works. Success isn't just about individual merit, it's about whether systems recognize and reward that merit equally. Consider another revealing finding from Tatiana's research. A Brookings Institution study highlighted the ongoing struggles faced by Black business owners seeking loans. Approval rates rose from about 4% in 2017 to only about 6.5% by 2025, still dramatically below parity with white counterparts. The high denial rates led many owners to feel discouraged from even applying for loans. 61% cited poor financial position as a deterrent, while others referenced strict lender criteria or past rejections. In response, community organizations launched targeted credit building workshops, paired with alternative lending programs tailored specifically for underserved entrepreneurs lacking traditional collateral or credit histories. The outcomes were promising but modest. Increased loan application confidence among participants, a gradual rise in successful approvals year over year, and improved business sustainability metrics. What's particularly telling about this example is the backstory. Generational wealth disparities meant fewer assets available as collateral, a challenge compounded over decades due to discriminatory policies affecting homeownership among African Americans. This wasn't about individual shortcomings. It was about historical systems creating present day barriers. The impact potential is staggering. If scaled nationally, and if parity were achieved between the number and share of Black employer firms versus population share, it could mean an additional $824 billion circulating annually, plus millions more jobs. This is the economic opportunity we're leaving on the table. A third example from Tatiana's research further illuminates these dynamics. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research documents gender and race disparities throughout every stage of business development, from startup formation through venture capital funding for underrepresented founders. Men start new businesses at a rate that's 64% higher than women overall. Black entrepreneurs start businesses at a rate nearly one quarter lower than white entrepreneurs. Yet, and this is crucial, female founded venture backed startups actually demonstrate better exit outcomes than average ones funded. In response, some venture capital firms began launching funds dedicated exclusively to investing in diverse teams, while advocacy groups pushed institutional investors toward greater transparency and accountability around diversity metrics within portfolios. The results have been a slow but steady increase in both the number and proportion of venture backed startups run by underrepresented minorities and women. Female founded VC backed startups now achieve exit rates nearly one fifth higher than male led peers, a testament both to resilience and untapped opportunity when capital finally flows equitably. This powerfully demonstrates why broadening participation benefits not only diverse founders, but also delivers superior returns industry wide. The barriers aren't just unfair, they're economically irrational. What these examples collectively reveal is something profound about how opportunity actually works in America. The conventional wisdom suggests that in a fair system, the most talented, hardworking individuals will naturally rise to the top. But the evidence shows that systemic barriers can and do prevent this from happening, not just to the detriment of those facing the barriers, but to our collective economic detriment. When we fail to create systems that recognize and reward talent equally, regardless of race or gender, we're not just being unfair, we're being economically foolish, we're leaving extraordinary potential untapped. This insight fundamentally challenges how we think about success and opportunity. It suggests that the path to greater prosperity isn't just about encouraging individuals to work harder, it's about dismantling the systemic barriers that prevent hard work from being rewarded equally. The implications are far reaching. If we want to unleash the full economic potential of our society, we need to move beyond the myth that success is purely an individual achievement. We need to recognize that success is also about whether systems allow individual merit to be recognized and rewarded. This isn't just about helping one group, it's about creating economic systems that accurately identify and reward talent wherever it exists, which benefits everyone. I want you to imagine for a moment what our economy could look like if we actually fixed this $1 trillion blind spot. Imagine the innovations, the jobs created, the communities transformed, the wealth generated if we simply remove the artificial barriers that are holding back some of our most talented entrepreneurs. So I challenge you today, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to perpetuate the myth that success is purely about individual effort? Or will you recognize the systemic barriers that prevent talent from being fully realized and commit to dismantling them? Will you invest in Black women entrepreneurs, not as charity, but as one of the smartest economic decisions you could possibly make? Will you advocate for lending practices, investment criteria, and business networks that recognize talent equally, regardless of race or gender? This isn't just about doing what's right, though it certainly is that. It's about doing what's smart. It's about unleashing economic potential that benefits all of us. The evidence that Tatiana Denson has uncovered is clear. When we remove artificial barriers to success, we don't just create more fairness, we create more prosperity. We don't just lift up one group, we lift up our entire economy. The $1 trillion question is, are we ready to see what's been hiding in plain sight all along? The future of our economy depends on your answer. Thank you.